the Just Baseball show. So we're going to recap the week that was. We're going to give you the, the status report on all 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Jack McMullen, Aram Layton. And again, today is Monday, April 18th. Aram just made fun of me because I brewed myself some tea right before we started recording. I didn't know that tea was not manly enough for baseball podcasters.
Yeah, that's what it always has to go to, right? We delayed the start of this podcast by about 3 to 4 minutes so that you could brew your tea.
I've got an electric kettle. It took about 90 seconds to boil the water, and then I poured it over the bag that was already in the mug, and now I'm just waiting for it to cool down a little bit. My
joke more so is because I really thought deep down this was like a broadcaster's thing. Like my vocal cords have been strained over the last few weeks. I'm a podcaster and a play-by-play guy, and
much hot mic.
And I read a book from Joe Buck, and Joe Buck recommends that you drink hot tea with lemon to soothe your vocal cords and keep them up, because broadcasters, they're just like the athletes. You got to take care of your body.
I've heard so many of those lines from like my broadcaster friends, and I'm like, hey, stop.
There you go.
Nothing like the athletes. Nothing.
No. The only thing that's similar, I would say, is the climb through the minors. Typically,
the climb through. Well, the travel in season, yeah, because you're constantly
the wages, the living situation.
Oh, the minor league living wages for sure.
I think it's very similar. Like to get to where you have to go. I think it's pretty similar. I'm not saying that it's as hard, but I'm saying
it's nowhere near as hard.
I think the day in and day out is just as hard.
Aside from that, it's not a broadcaster thing. The one thing that I did learn was in a bottle of water, if you drop a cough drop into your bottle of water and let it dissolve, that gives you like an extra lubricating water. So it's like enhanced water. So you do that, during commercial breaks, and you come back and you feel like a new person. It's like drinking a cough drop bit by bit.
It's like lean for broadcasters.
Yeah, it's broadcaster lean. That's exactly what it is.
You think Joe Buck's got like 10 of those in there, just getting a little buzzed up during
getting leaned out. Let's go. Hey, before we get into baseball again, I feel bad because earlier this week I music shamed you, and I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. It's one of those things that we are, I think, as people, sometimes we just feel like if it's different than our takes and different than what we enjoy, it's wrong. But I'm glad you learned from that and you understand that there's different likes across the world.
Yeah, of course. And you know what? If you like Milky Chance, I have to be okay with you liking Milky Chance.
Billions of people do. Billions. Not really, but they have billions of streams, 10 million listeners a month, I believe, by Spotify.
Okay.
It's a great band. It's a great band, but also a lot more enjoyable to listen to than the K cast. What is it?
K-Rod.
K-Rod, which is dumb because that literally was the nickname of a pitcher.
Francisco Rodriguez,
who,
by the way, is like 5th all time in career saves.
Yeah, very underratedly 5th all time in saves. Well, for the K-Rod cast, very impressive. Michael K earlier today called the game in Baltimore, Yankees game at 1:00, right?
Yeah.
Then he's got the K-Rod cast right now. That dude finished the game, left the stadium, took a Uber private car, most likely.
Yeah.
Took a helicopter, flew in, Uber, and now he's doing whatever that broadcast is. I haven't tuned into a second of it, to be honest. And I know people are, and I'm usually a defender of broadcasters in that regard, but this is more of a criticism on the producer side to do this K-Rod cast. But I just thought about it from this lens. They flew a broadcaster on a helicopter to make it to another broadcast. I don't think any broadcaster is that good. Unless it's Vince Scully, nobody belongs in a helicopter. And that's not a slight of Michael K. Like, good for you. Imagine how much money this guy must be making for him to be doing 2-a-days in different states. Like, for him to be doing that, the ESPN must be shelling it out. Like, good for him. And it's not criticism of him. I just don't think there's ever a broadcaster that's that important that you're helicoptering in. Because the last thing I'll say on this, because I know you're a believer in this, is I never like broadcasters that make it about themselves. I'm not saying Michael Kay is, but if you fly a broadcaster around in a helicopter enough, I think he's going to feel like the game is a little bit about him too, naturally.
Yes, he absolutely will. And what I will say is that only happens to the highest profile people. So, Joe Buck will fly charter, he'll fly like a private jet through a Wheels Up or something if he's doing the MLB postseason with the NFL slate. So Joe Davis, if he's doing the NFL slate with Fox, he's the new voice of the World Series. He will get flown by a company like Wheels Up or maybe Sun Country.
It's the
Airlines.
World Series.
It's the World Series. So you're saying K-Rod. I'm gonna, refrain from like thoughts on that because, and here's why. Like, I'm not bitching around this thing. Like, I'm not going around it because like I want it, but the reality is I want it. Like everybody.
That's very fair. We all want it. I would love that.
I would love that. So
you think I'm going to be like, no, keep your helicopter. I'm good.
No, like, so that's the thing. Would you rather sit in traffic or not do the game?
No.
With somebody like Michael Kay, you're going to MF him because he's getting the private jet. He's getting the helicopter from one game to another, but I'm grinding my ass off right now. So hopefully when I'm 55 years old, I can do that. I can get on a private jet and go from game to game.
Has nothing to do with Michael Kay and everything to do with the fact that we thought we make broadcasters that important. Like, it's just wild to me. I like, again, awesome dream gig, would kill for that. And he has earned every bit of it. I just think it's so wild that we're investing that much into broadcasters. It's pretty cool, I guess. It's just wild to me.
It's cool for me, a broadcast. It's cool for you, a broadcaster, but like, I understand.
See, like here's my final thought on it. I really feel like, and maybe I just don't know what it's like to be at that level. I really feel like if that was offered to me, I would be like, why? Yeah. Like there's like, even now there's some moments where we have some cool things on a 1 millionth level of a scale. Like even getting invited to MLB's HQ, I had that moment of like, why? Like, and then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, we've worked hard. This is awesome. So I'm sure Michael Kay feels that way too. But if someone's like, oh, we're going to fly you in the helicopter, I'd be like, why? Why wouldn't you just get someone else?
Yeah, so that's because you and I both deal with big time imposter syndrome. We think that we don't really deserve anything. And we're just
except for ratios,
I haven't done anything.
Except for ratios and bad reviews.
Exactly. Except for 1 star on Apple Podcasts. By the way, don't do that. So
please.
Yeah, I mean,
our fragile egos.
I think that's part of our problem, where we're just like, no, good things, they should not happen to us. We only work 60 hours a week. We need to be at 100.
And we cover baseball. It's not even a real job.
Yeah,
there you go.
So that's that. Speaking of covering baseball, we should probably start covering baseball. I think we're 14 minutes into this podcast. We're going to give you kind of the status report on every team in Major League Baseball. It's going to be rapid fire. It's going to be a lot like what we did last week. We went by schedule. We talked about, the matchups of the opening weekend, but that's because it was the opening weekend. So do you want to go by like current standings in each division?
We want to tackle it that way. I was going to still go matchups. We could, because there's no interleague play yet.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go matchups.
Okay. Yeah, because I just think it's a cooler way, because it's like what just happened between those two teams, and it kind of clues you right into the trend for both of them.
Yeah, that works for me. By the way, there is a little bit of interleague play. I see San Francisco and Cleveland here.
Whatever.
Burn.
Whatever.
Zing.
Whatever. All right, that one, you can get that one then, and I'll take all the National League matchups then.
Perfect. Okay, I'll handle the AL. You want to start with my White Sox?
Yeah.
Sox are 6-3. They just lost 9-3 to Tampa today in the series finale, but Dylan Cease looked good. Michael Kopech looked good. Problem is nobody else looks good. Vince Velasquez allowed a crooked number in the first inning, and Tampa'd. But Tampa is looking a little weak right now.
Both teams, I think, are going to be just fine, and both teams are going to be forces. And we don't even need to spend too much time, I think, really talking about the struggles of them. Here's the thing with the White Sox that makes me a little bit more concerned is right now you kind of have 2 question marks in the rotation. They'll get better there as they get healthy. But Vince Velasquez cannot be making many more starts. He shouldn't make 1 more start. And I think that you can find somebody to fill in. I would rather see Lopez even fill in at this point. He looked good in certain spots.
Yes, Reynaldo Lopez looked good. You say there's 2 question marks. Who are the 3 sure things?
I was kind of just assuming somebody's going to come back relatively soon, but
I mean, maybe Giolito.
yeah,
Lynn's out another 6 weeks, I think. Giolito might be, I mean, they might extend him another 10 days. If they don't, great. But right now it's Cease, Kopech, and then Vince Velasquez, Dallas Keuchel, and Jimmy Lambert.
yeah. So those three guys are going to be a big problem. I mean, you are at a disadvantage 2 out of 3 times, maybe 3 out of 3 times. Lopez could fill in. Command's a little shaky. I really think the pressure is kind of on to try to go make a trade, but how many teams are trading young pitching right now? Or even just pitching, period. It's going to be hard to find a team that's selling starting pitching. And that's what puts them in kind of a tough spot. They got to survive. And I think that the White Sox are really just going to try to tread water. And what they're doing for the most part here is they're hitting, which is all right. And that's what they'll have to do. And the bullpen's going to have to step up and hold leads, because if they have a lead, they better hold on to it, because 2 or 3 out of the 5 days of the rotation, you're going to have a disadvantage from the jump.
Shane McClanahan, 9 innings, 3 earned against him, punched out 15. Corey Kluber, 9 2/3, 2 earned runs against him. That's a sub-2 ERA. So, I mean, Kluber's working the Tampa voodoo here. I thought that was a really good matchup for the White Sox with Tampa, and that's why they took 2 or 3. But I don't think there are many concerns with Tampa this year.
No, I mean, even if you really can't bank on Glass now, you have the outside hope he comes back. Shane Baz is going to be back and just fine. The loose bodies, everyone sees elbow freaks out.
Yeah, it's
loose bodies. They're going to be careful. I want to make sure he's good. He's going to be back. He's going to be fine. And then they still have a litany of arms in the minor leagues that I think can fill in much better than what the White Sox are working with, which is huge.
Correct. Patino to the 60-day IL. That sucked to see.
He just has not looked right. And it seems like he just can't stay healthy. Him and Lamet, ironically coming from the same place, they're very similar with just the electric stuff, arm speed from a small body, and just have not been able to stay too healthy. I think Patino could be another candidate to move to the bullpen, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's a great multi-inning reliever. I think that's what he is. And he's going to be an electric fastball guy. It would be really nice to see Patino flourish as a 4 or a 5, but each time he nicks something up, I just see that possibility of being a top end 4 or 5 dwindle and dwindle.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, the good news is he's still extremely young, but it is a little bit worrisome. The good news for the Rays is their rotation is fine. McClanahan's kind of shouldering that load. I'm glad Tommy Romero, he looked bad in his first start, gets another look here, more in that longer relief situation, but good in 2 innings. I think he can fill in. They've got a few other guys in the minor leagues that could end up chipping in sometime soon. Colby White, another arm to look out for the Rays. They'll be just fine.
Yeah. Toronto just snuck by Oakland, and Oakland got some wins at the Rogers Center. The Oakland A's are 5-5. That won't stay for a very long time. But Toronto, yeah, they look fine. Manoah looked today. He started strong, but he kind of faded at the end of his start. Toronto, I think, needs to figure it out on the mound, because the bats already look like they're all systems go.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be at that Yankees game earlier where Vladdy hit 3 home runs after being spiked, or in between. He was spiked in the finger. He's taken it to another level. He's an absolute force. They have a healthy Springer. That lineup is going to be ridiculous. I'm not worried about Manoah at all. The command is kind of hit or miss at times, but I think the Jays are the team to beat in the AL East right now. I mean, we're going to get to it, but you can see some of the vulnerabilities with the Sox and the Yankees. Both teams will be good. Both teams will settle in. The Rays are good, will be really good, but you can see their vulnerabilities. And the Rays could get off to a hot start, get a little bit of a few game advantage by the end of the month, and try to run with it. I can really see it if they shore up that pitching. And I think Nate Pearson will be a really interesting X factor in all of this too.
One thing to note with Toronto, the duo of Danny Jansen and Zach Collins combined 10 for 23 with 3 doubles and 3 bombs.
Really interesting. And we know how much the Jays needed a left-handed bat. And instead of getting the big impact one, they went more with some of the smaller bats that could come
big
in. Big
impact meaning Conforto?
Yeah, didn't go with that. But Zach Collins is a guy that can run into baseballs. And if you put him in the right spots, he's going to strike out a lot. He's going to hit you some home runs. And they're putting him in positions to succeed. So I like this team. I'm really excited to see how they continue to figure things out on the mound. But they have enough assets to trade. And if they're really encouraged by this catching situation, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do, but they have Gabriel Moreno knocking on the door.
Yeah. Oakland, like, is there any validity here?
No way.
Zero.
Right?
Zero.
There's always that team that starts hot. And I'll say, I mean, you have a young team here that's a lot of guys that are getting their first serious looks at the big league level. And that's been really good for them to really have that just fire and energy out there. Tony Kemp's swinging it well. I think he's going to turn himself into a nice trade piece. But there's no way. There's no way Oakland can really make this thing happen.
When an Oakland A plays well this year, they're turning themselves into a nice trade piece.
Yeah, Chad Pinder, I think that's the hope too, right? Like this team's going to progressively get worse because the second that these guys start to have some legitimate value, we're going to see them dealt. We know Montes is going to get dealt. I would be shocked if they kept Kemp, and I think the same thing with Pinder and some of these other pieces.
Dude, Sean Murphy looks so strong to start the year.
He looks really good. He already has really like his meme of the year, throwing that ass back. And
yeah.
No, but the bat, like here's the thing. Catchers, we always talk about you got to learn how to catch and hit at the same time, which is super hard because it's not just catch. Like we know that they know how to catch, but it's handling a big league starter. He has made those strides behind the dish. He has been good behind the dish. Now the bat, he's had time to focus on that. The power is legit. And if Murphy gets traded, he's someone whose power I think will tick up a ton in a different environment. But he has looked spectacular, as you said, at 27 years old. So
Murphy's kind of dealing with the Matt Olson thing, where Olson hit 39 bombs, but the idea of prolific power is there when Olson got out of O.co. Like Murphy is never going to be 40 homers, but Murphy is 20 to 25 right now. That can tick up to 30 as a catcher if he goes elsewhere.
Give it to me, right? With good defense as well. And
better bat to ball than most catchers.
And don't forget though, the Oakland A's are getting Ramon Laureano back.
Oh, true. It's going to be a wagon, dude. Dalton Jeffries, by the way, other Oakland A's news, Dalton Jeffries' newest client of Codify. I saw that on Twitter. So shout out Michael Fisher grabbing Dalton Jeffries. Maybe he ticks up.
He will. It's how much Michael Fisher's got him. It's just a matter of how much, not if.
We know how that works. Yankees blew it big time today at Camden Yards, 5-0. The loss to the Baltimore Orioles, who are 3-6. Baltimore doesn't look good. John Means is on the 60-day IL. We don't need to spend much time on them. Like they have zero pitching. So anything cool that Mullins and Mancini and Mountcastle and Rutschman, when he's healthy, do, it's just going to be negated by dog shit pitching.
Yeah. What I'll say is this though. I mean, the pitching's horrible. At least they're a watchable team. And I'm setting the bar low. But if you told me like, oh, who would you rather watch, the Orioles or the Oakland A's? It's not even close. And that's because of the offensive pieces that they have in Baltimore. You sent me a video of the Cedric Mullins home run. I mean, he crushed that thing, 433 feet.
And there was some buzz at Camden Yards too.
No, I think because again, I think they see the young core now. Before, I'm not saying that they're going to sell out and pack it in, but when the Yankees are in town, now you have some young pieces that you can get excited about, that you can cheer and say, hopefully this is the start of something new. You can start to see it coming together. Mullins, Santander, Mountcastle, and once Adley comes back, they've got some pieces. By the way, Grayson Rodriguez is on a different level, and that guy will be up. Thank goodness he will be able to kind of help them on the mound a little bit. But dude, the Yankees, we're not sounding the alarm a handful of games into the season, but pretty rough to see them struggle to hit against a Bruce Zimmerman here. And this is a lineup that has the star power, but it's just not as balanced all the way through, I think, as we've seen it, right? Like you have some holes there. If Kluber's struggling, if IKF can't really hit even close to what he should be doing, which is about a 95 WRC plus, which we're not even seeing out of him. And then the catching situation, you've got some holes in your lineup here if the big guys are struggling.
Okay, so I ask you, when was the last time the Yankees had balance in their lineup?
Never.
Long time.
Never. But I think it's even more polarizing this year.
Yeah,
I really do, because at least when you had those streaky guys at the back end, like even Gary Sanchez, if he goes 1 for 10, it's a home run. If Jose Trevino goes 1 for 10, it's a single. But the other thing too is that they went more on the defensive side, which we also, gave the Yankees some heat for. So, I mean, they improved catching defense. They improved the shortstop defense. But is that enough with their current offense? The problem is Gallo, Judge, and Stanton can stall out together quite often. And
they hold hands while doing it. They say, let's do it together.
Exactly. And that's why Rizzo was such a big addition. Yankees will be just fine. Hicks is healthy and looks actually pretty good. That's a huge development for them. But again, I think it kind of shows so far in the early going that the Blue Jays are just the more complete team if we're talking about the entire AL East right now.
Yeah, stable of pitching is really good. Jonathan Loaisiga blew the game yesterday. I'm not concerned about Loaisiga. I don't think I'm concerned about the arms whatsoever. I think the arms look good. Do the bats carry their weight, which we know for the Yankees, especially in 2022, is more than the arms, right? It's probably a 60-40 split. The offense will determine their success.
100%, especially with the development of Nestor Cortes. A friend of the show, Nestor Cortes, has seen his velo tick up. And on Sunday, I mean, not only did he turn in the best start of his career, he turned in one of the best starts I think we've seen from, I would say, not Garrett Cole for a Yankee starter in a while. I mean, when's the last time we've seen a Yankee starter put an outing like this together? Maybe a Yankees fan could call on something random I can't think of, but not only did Cortes give you an immaculate inning, the cutter was stupid. It was 25 swings on the cutter, 10 whiffs, got another 4 whiffs on the 4-seamer. He didn't even really need to mix in that much secondary stuff. He was dominant. He was absolutely dominant, and really cool to see Nestor Cortes succeeding. That is a huge X factor for the Yankees, and didn't work out in this game. You got to score to win, but that is huge for the Yanks.
He and Sevy are everything for the Yankees.
And Sevy has been spectacular as well. Now, a couple really good outings. I think you got to start believing now that this guy could be back. Let's hope he could stay healthy.
100%. Let's go to Fenway. Red Sox beat the Twins 8-1 in the series finale on Sunday. Let's start with the Red Sox, because I think the Red Sox are going to be as hot and cold as anybody in Major League Baseball. The losses are going to look absolutely brutal. The wins are going to be so fun, and Boston's back, and Rafi and Bogarts are hitting the ball well. But when they struggle, I think it's going to be really ugly.
It's going to be hard for them to get outs, I think, at times. But this offense is fun. I love the lineup. Talk about a balanced lineup. That is a pretty balanced lineup. And I mean, Kike Hernandez is going to get going here. He already is starting to show signs of life. And, JD is going to take it up a notch. Xander is going to take it up a notch. The fact that they're off to a 5-4 start with the current state of their pitching, Chris Sale out, I think they're going to continue to get better and better. Not to mention Trevor Story is a 572 OPS right now. And whether you think he's going to be good or not, relative to how he was in Denver, he's going to be better than this.
Yeah.
But the pitching is the big question. How is that all going to come together? And when is Chris Sale coming back? I'm nervous about the starting and relieving situation for the Red Sox, and they don't really have any scouts, or they don't even have any really prospects to help either.
I'm really nervous about the bullpen. I'm very, very nervous about the bullpen. And you said something about Whitlock possibly being the next Matt Barnes in the Chaim Bloom thing, where, a reliever gets an extension and then they underwhelm. I think Whitlock's good. But much like Barnes plucked together a few solid outings and then he got an extension. Whitlock plucked together a good back half of the year and got an extension.
I like Whitlock a lot. And I mean, he's somebody that they really are betting on here. He's a Rule 5 guy, right? I mean, and the Yankees let him go. They didn't even protect him, which part of that's because the Yankees had a good bullpen. But if they knew how good Whitlock was, they could have used him last year. I'm not one to really lock up a reliever after 1 year, but he was that good last year. And I think it's just also a testament to the desperation that the Red Sox have to hold on to any good relief pieces they have. Good for Whitlock to get his money as a guy that was, uncertain to even be valuable enough to be kept on the 40-man roster. Yeah. But I mean, I'm not locking up a reliever after 1 year, but he's been great this year again. And man, he needs to be that guy the whole freaking year for them to have a shot.
Yeah, no, give Whitlock 4 years, but 4 years, 70 is perfect for Xander Bogaerts. Good.
Minnesota,
God, ridiculous. Minnesota, I mean, they're already being bit by the injury bug, like so bad. Sonny Gray to the 10-day IL. That was nerve-wracking watching Byron Buxton pull up after that slide. Thankfully, no structural damage. But I mean, he can't stay healthy, dude.
And what's scary too is it was one of those things where he was jogging into second and kind of just slid for the sake of sliding. And when you're getting hurt like that, it's just, you wonder, because I had a little bit of hope of maybe if he just takes it back 10%, and he's more at 90% at all times in terms of just going all out, but keeping things reserved a little bit, maybe he can stay healthy. He was jogging after that fly ball dropped, and like just a routine slide into second base and something's off. I just have a worry at this point that just his body's not really built to really be able to compete on a day in and day out basis and stay healthy. It's a good development that there's no damage, but I mean, do you really feel that good? I just feel like it's never going to end with him, and it's the worst feeling ever.
It sucks because the other guy, what you tried to hedge Byron Buxton with, is Carlos Correa, who again had a beautiful 2021 and was healthy for all of 21 and 20. But that guy has the history of dealing with the injury bug as well. And then Sonny Gray goes on the 10-day IL. We talked about it. It's Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan, and then we're in a fit battle between Bailey Ober and Casey Mize.
Ober was sharp.
He was fine. He was
6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 3 Ks.
Yeah.
Casey Mize is down with an elbow sprain, unfortunately. So you might get bailed out there. Ober's ERA is down to 3.27. At what point do you worry about Carlos Correa being in a prolonged slump?
I don't give it another week.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. But 13 Ks and 30 at bats. He's hitting 133 with 1 home run and 1 RBI. I think you can figure out where that RBI came from in a 512 OPS.
Yeah, solo home run, right?
Yes, correct. That's where that one came from. And I'll say this though, with the Twins, and something that I think will help them almost immediately: get Miguel Sano out of the freaking lineup, man.
Yeah,
this guy is a black hole for you, not only offensively but defensively. He booted the ball, really hurt them during the game as well. They end up losing by a lot, anyways. Sano's not hitting. He's not defending, that's for sure. Not that first base defense is integral, but it can kill you when the guy is incompetent. And you have Jose Miranda sitting right there in the minor leagues. And also when Alex Kirilloff comes back, it's worth maybe even moving him to first and throwing somebody else in the outfield. I'd almost rather see Warnick, who struggled in AAA, in the outfield, and not have Sano at first. They have other options, and until they do that, I think they're gonna be a little bit inconsistent offensively.
First base defense is offensive line play. You don't notice it until it sucks. And then you're like, wow, we have to address this.
Exactly. Unless you mash. And Sano isn't doing that. I also really think we got to stop giving Nick Gordon at bats here, unfortunately. And so they have to trim some of the fat. And I think they're going to do that. The offense will get going. Polanco will get going. They'll be fine. But they need Kirilloff back, and they need to really kind of fix some things with this lineup, because we said it from the jump. They got to hit to win anyways. Yeah. And they're not hitting. So things could get ugly quick for Minnesota.
So after having watched the St. Paul Saints, the Twins AAA affiliate, for the last 5 days, Miranda looks good. He looks ready. Royce Lewis looks MLB ready. So if you want to trim Nick Gordon, go get Royce Lewis and bring him up. And you should be trimming Miguel Sano. You should have already done it for Jose Miranda, but Miranda's ready to be a Minnesota Twin.
100%. And he fits in because you can move him at third when you want Urshela off for a day, or if he's not hitting, you can put him at first. You can stick him in corner outfield or DH in the bat. I mean, the guy hit 344 with 30 something home runs last year, in the minor leagues between double and AAA. Miranda could be a big spark plug for them. And I think they're waiting to deploy that spark plug at the right time.
Yeah. LA and Texas, that just happened in Arlington. I want to address the Joe Madden thing, the Corey Seager intentional walk with the bases loaded.
Yeah.
When Texas was up by 1 in the bottom of the 4th inning. So that intentional walk put Anaheim down by 2. I thought that was bullshit. I thought it was total bullshit. And Joe Madden is credited for being an incredibly smart baseball mind. I think he gets way too deep in his own head sometimes. And the math doesn't make any sense there whatsoever. If Anaheim is ahead in a late game situation and you're really worried about Corey Seager, then I understand it. But in the bottom of the fourth inning, first week of the season, and you're down by one, and you're going to walk somebody in to make you down by two, what are we doing?
You know, the team that's done that, the team that it's happened 6 times now, and the team that has intentionally walked the guy with the bases loaded is 6-0. Is that the weirdest thing ever?
It's so weird.
I think we're definitely over crediting somebody that I think just went totally off a feel. And this is something that Jeff Conine has talked about with Jack McKeon back in the Marlins in 2003. And he's like, oh, Jack was great in terms of being, you know, that player's manager, but sometimes he'd make some decisions that we're like, whoa, what is he doing? And they would work out. And so no one really questioned him. And sometimes it's just like that feel thing. So it's hard. Jack McKeon's been around baseball forever and just has that weird gut feeling he follows. And sometimes it transcends the numbers. It worked in this case. I guess he just had an inclination. Maybe he liked the swings or didn't like the swings that Corey Seager was taking and felt like he was due to blow it open there. I don't know. It worked.
He did. He said it was strictly off a feel. He said he liked what Seager was doing. And he also said that he felt like his team needed a spark. And he felt like that was a good way to give them a spark. He said
that's a way to give him a spark. Did you see Trout's reaction in center?
Trout was like, what's this moron doing? I don't think that's the right way to give them a spark.
No, the way to get a spark is really to get out of the jam, which they kind of did, or you give up 3 runs and you know what you're chasing. I don't know how. I think giving an intentional walk with the bases loaded is the opposite of the spark. I
think 2 more runs came in after that. I think it was a sac fly, the hitter following, and then a run producing out again. So like you're down, you were down 3-2 at the beginning of the inning, and then you're down 6-2 at the end of the inning.
If you're going into bases loaded, no outs, I think if you would guaranteed take that outcome or roll the dice, I would roll the dice every single time.
I would roll the dice 1 billion times out of 10.
Yeah, so I agree. I love Joe Madden. I don't think we're just because they won that game, I don't think we're celebrating what was a genius play. I think it was a little bit of just early season kind of fuck it decision.
Yeah.
That in the grand scheme worked out.
Yeah. Aside from that, Anaheim looks good. Noah Syndergaard looks great.
LA.
Yeah, sorry. The LA Angels?
Yeah, I think that's what they are now.
Did I call them Anaheim?
Yeah, I let the first 2 times kind of slide by.
Yeah, that's shorthand though, right? Like Anaheim.
No, I do it. I still do it too. Well, it's funny because they're like, "Oh, we're coming to you from Anaheim." You know, when they're doing the games. I've heard Matt Vasgersian say it. Actually, I have a question for you, and this is why I'm slightly optimistic about the Angels of Los Angeles. I really like the way the pitching has looked in the early going.
Yeah.
First, before we get into it, Mike Trout got hit in the hand. X-rays are negative, thank goodness. Probably will miss a handful of games. No pun intended to be precautious here. But I'm thank goodness he's not hurt. That would have been catastrophic. But this is the best pitching duo. Noah Syndergaard and Shohei Ohtani are the best starting pitching duo for the Angels since when?
CJ Wilson was paired with somebody.
Correct. I think it's a CJ Wilson, Jared Weaver combination in 2012. That team won 89 games. Mike Trout was 20. That's what encourages me here. Is Syndergaard and Ohtani could be the best pitching duo, starting pitching duo since that team. And you know why else that team was good? The bullpen was actually good. They
have K-Rod at that time?
They did not have K-Rod. I actually got to pull up that team now real quick because
and we're not talking about the ESPN2 alternate broadcast. We're talking about Francisco Rodriguez, the real K-Rod.
There's going to be people that grow up and that's the first thing that they think of is that K-Rod, not the actual guy who pitched. But out of the bullpen, remember Jason Isringhausen? He wasn't good for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't good for them that year. So the 2012 team dominated through those 2 starting pitchers. The 2014 team of the Angels won 98 games, 98 and 64. Starting pitchers were about the same. Jared Weaver, CJ Wilson, Garrett Richards, Matt Shoemaker. None of them had the dominance of the 2012 duo, but this is what made the difference for them. Houston Street and Joe Smith.
Yeah.
Houston Street and Joe Smith combined for a 1.8 ERA, roughly.
Street was so good.
Raisel Iglesias can be that guy, and Ryan Tepera can be that guy. This could be the best relief duo that they've had. So
Dude,
I
how
see
about
some
Loop?
similarities.
How about Aaron Loop?
Aaron Loop as well. So I think this team is the closest thing we've seen to the 2012/2014 Angels, which are the two best teams we've seen since 2010. And really the only two teams to even sniff the playoffs. They lost in the AL Division Series 3-0 in 2014, but to the Royals, the eventual world champions. I really like this team. I believe they've got some missing pieces still. Like they've got some things to figure out, but
yeah.
I believe in it, and they're off to a pretty darn good start.
You remember right before opening day, we said Perry Manassian and the Angels front office aced the offseason. We gave them the only A+ that we gave out because we honestly thought that the Angels aced the offseason, and in the early goings, it looks like they did.
I'm with you 100%, and I'm really interested to see what kind of moves they make. I mean, even trimming the fat with Justin Upton, who is going to land somewhere, but just making that decision to prioritize the roster spots. It shows that they're just approaching things differently. They're not just paying guys to pay them. Manassian, he came in there and he said, I'm not just doing this. I'm not just carrying these guys because we gave them bad deals. We're optimizing every roster spot. They use that in the bullpen shortening games, and the combination of Thor and Ohtani could be really special for them. And Brandon Marsh is a really big glue guy for that lineup. I love what I've seen from Marsh so far.
Yeah. All right. These next three teams, we're going to go through rapid fire, and then we'll finish with Houston and Seattle. Texas was on the losing end on Sunday. Texas is 2-7. They can swing it, but they cannot pitch baseballs.
We knew they were going to be bad this year, right? I mean,
so they're bad.
We knew they'd be watchable, which is they have a fun middle infield duo. But I mean, this, and that's part of the reason why I think Joe Maddon was okay with walking Seager. Who are you worried about in the rest of the lineup? I think that's what the logic was there. And one run, if they could limit it to that, they know that they can go get because they can't pitch, as you said. And I mean, they're starting Martin Perez, and they're starting guys that, were failures on other teams. This is a buy a year for them, right? Like they know that they just need to get through this year. Then next year they have, Cole Winn. They'll have hopefully Leiter. They'll have some other pieces. They can go sign one more arm. They'll be fine. I can see it coming together, but it's just not happening this year. And it could be a rough year with some talented players, though. So just enjoy it and know it's part of the process here in Texas. You can see the direction that Chris Young is going in. Jack Leiter talked about it in the piece we just put out on him, where he said everybody in the organization can see the direction, but it takes time to get to the destination. At least they're heading in the right direction, but it's early.
Yeah. Kansas City and Detroit were postponed on Sunday. We'll start with the Royals. Sal Perez is hitting 188, Bobby Witt 156, Whit Merrifield 152, Adalberto Mondesi 148, and Carlos Santana is 2 for 26. They can't hit. The pitching is bad. The Royals, I think they're bottom 4 in team OPS. I think there are 4 teams with an OPS as a team under 600, and the Royals are one of them. I also think that they've got one of the higher staff ERAs too.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the two kind of most important things in baseball, right? Two things you got to do pretty well to win games. Which of the guys that you just listed are you surprised about struggling? I'm not saying that we would have expected all of these guys to be below the Mendoza line, but who are you truly floored out of the list of guys that you named? Like you're floored that guy's struggling.
The answer is Whit Merrifield. That's it. Like Santana through his first 8 games hitting 2 for 26. Like, oh my God, dude. Mondesi's hitting 148, but Mondesi struggles with bat to ball. Bobby Witt, you got to give him some time. So if he's hitting under 200 in his first 8 career games, I understand. And then Sal Perez, listen, he's hitting 188 right now. He's going to get it up to probably like 225, 230, but batting average is not his game. Whit Merrifield's the one that really, really surprises me. And with how bad Whit Merrifield has been, Andrew Benintendi has been good enough.
He's been really good. 357, 438, 464 through, the first 8 games. But that's not a guy that's going to carry your offense, right? I mean, even when I read you the slash line, he's still not even slugging over 500.
He's got a 902 OPS.
No, that'd be an insane ask of him. But just an example, if somebody's going to try to carry your team, they're going to have to be better than that in the power department. Not happening. But really good to see Benintendi swinging it the way he is. Sal Perez is going to get hot. He'll get going. I'm not too worried about him. But Whit Merrifield, a guy who's his game's very dependent on his athleticism on the other side of 30. I think he's going to turn it around. I don't think age has fully caught him yet, but that is in the back of my mind. At what point is Whit Merrifield maybe slowing down? I always thought it was interesting that the Royals never traded him, because they could have traded him in 2020 for a haul and a half, given how cheap his contract is. They wanted to try to compete. They're really far off. I think we're seeing that. We talk about not trying to draw too many conclusions through 8 games, but it's really hard to imagine a way that this roster could somehow work out being a 500 team this year. I can't really even come up with scenarios.
And dude, they can't pitch. And no. I don't know if they're going to be able to pitch for a while. The more this 2022 season rolls on, the more out you can become on Bubic, Lynch, Singer, and Coar. And we'll see what Lacey does on his way through. He's in AA right now.
And that's like your entire senior class graduating and then not going to college, right? That was like your whole, everything that you invested in, the whole next wave of success and the next wave of the quote unquote adults that you stored up and that you packed in here, and you put time into educating and developing. Not figuring it out at the big league level really sets them back here. And they got a lot to figure out now, pitching wise, especially because it's going all the way down. Lacey is struggling. Ben Hernandez, another early pick for them, has been inconsistent in the early going. Pitching has just been an issue. We've talked about it, and it continues to be.
Yeah. All right. Seattle, Houston. Let's start with Houston. Houston is 5-4. They just got their 4th loss of the year yesterday in a 7-2 loss to the Mariners. They ran into the buzzsaw that is Matt Brash. But Houston, Verlander's a gamer, dude. Verlander, he said he wants to throw until 45, and he said he wants to win. He wants to win 300 games. Is that right?
That's crazy. I don't know if he can do that. If he does that, given the state of the game now, he would be, in my opinion, one of the 10 best pitchers of all time, maybe better than that.
That's 15 wins a year for the next 5 years that Verlander needs to get.
The fact that we're not laughing at that,
I'm not laughing at it. I'm doing the math right now, and I'm like, this might work, because Verlander is he the Aaron Rodgers of baseball?
It's funny. I was kind of saying, if he can really do this, but I've been saying it before, he's the closest thing I think we've ever had to Nolan Ryan since Nolan Ryan, especially with the way the game has trended. You just don't see this. You don't see guys that were throwing 100 at age 24 doing it at age 30. What is he, 38 now?
I think he's 39.
You don't see that sustainability, and he's special. He's different. And I think he's going to continue to be able to throw. I talked about how the way the timelines worked out, that he actually ended up getting a lot of more extra time to come back from that injury, really getting almost 2 full years. His whole body is ready. You could tell he feels rejuvenated. And I mean, he's a huge, huge piece for them. You assume that McCullers can come back healthy. Framber looks phenomenal. I really like what I've seen from this team so far. And Jeremy Pena, as I talked about from the prospect side early on, even if he wasn't hitting like this, the glove has been so valuable. We knew that would be the case. He can run. He brings a lot to the table, but the bat has been great. He's probably the favorite to win Rookie of the Year in the early going. And I mean, right now, the Astros have all the complementary pieces. They don't even need him to be this good, and he's been this good. They're in great shape. The pitching will keep coming together. I'm a big fan of what's going on in Houston. They'll settle in. I mean, they had a pretty interesting start to the season, having to play, the Angels for 4 on the road, then going to Arizona for 2 on the road, then going to Seattle for 3 on the road. It's been a little bit of just all over the map for them. So, I mean, I think Houston's going to settle in. They're going to be fine.
You think Pena is the Rookie of the Year front runner over my guy Quan Sexy?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Seattle, let's play the rookie game here. Kelnick is not a rookie anymore. He ran out of his eligibility. Kelnick looks really bad. Julio Rodriguez is still getting acclimated, and Matt Brash looks like Denton True Young reincarnated.
So I'll push back on Kelnick. Yes, he's looked terrible. Watched weirdly one of those days where I was flipping in between, where you just like somehow have it timed up where you just keep getting the same guy hitting every time you switch back over.
Yeah.
I had that for Kelnick on Sunday. And it was like every time it happened, of course, I want to like watch his at bats with intent, kind of see how he's seeing the ball. One, his takes were a lot easier. Two, he put a few swings on baseballs on the outer half that were really, really positive for me, because we know when Kelnick's going bad, he's trying to pull everything.
Yeah.
It's an 87-mile-an-hour changeup tailing away. I literally tweeted the video because I was so pumped about it from my personal Twitter. And he let that thing travel, and he shot at 100 and something miles per hour the other way. And not only that, it was one of those that was kind of in the gap, but not really. Hustle double. Love that from him. He's always giving you that. And I think that's why the Mariners are patient with him. But that swing was really telling for me after I was literally just saying, wow, these takes look better. Boom, that swing. Hopefully that's a sign of good things to come. J-Rod also had a good swing today, but I'm less convinced that he's breaking out of this thing. I've talked about it. I mean, only 40 something games above high A. I think it was a really aggressive assignment for him, or aggressive promotion to the big leagues. He could settle in. He has that star ability, but I mean, when Kyle Lewis comes back, maybe you got to think about it.
Yeah, you got to think about it. I mean, dude, you called brash. He looked amazing again. He couldn't throw strikes, but when he did throw strikes, nobody could hit it. I saw Eno Saris. Eno Saris is doing a new thing called Stuff Plus, where he just, quantifies like the actual nasty stuff in baseball with break and spin and all that. He said Matt Brash, through his first 2 starts, is the MLB leader in Stuff Plus.
Well, I'm assuming that horizontal or vertical movement has something to do with that.
Both.
And Matt Brash's horizontal movement on the slider is ahead of anybody else's in baseball. We've really never seen a slider break that much at that high of a speed, and you can see it by the swing reactions. The problem is when a pitch breaks that much, it's tough to locate for a called strike. And if he's not locating the fastball, that's where you get into walking guys. He got 4 double plays. That helped him a ton. That's a little bit of luck, a little bit of a nod to his pitchability. He's here to stay. He's going to have to battle his own command issues from time to time, but huge development for the Mariners. And not to mention, I mean, the offense has been streaky in the early going. There's a lot more for them there. They're only slugging 345. We know the power that this lineup could have. I mean, you look at guys so far. Ty France is the only dude really swinging it for them right now, outside of JP Crawford as well. I think this team's going to catch fire, and I'm really expecting them to be a force, and the pitching is going to be good. I really do think the pitching is going to continue to settle in. Robbie Ray, we had our questions coming into the year, you especially, but he's looked strong in the early going as well.
He has looked strong in the early going. Last team from me is the Cleveland Guardians. They were on top of the world offensively. They tapered off, obviously welcoming in a really good Giants team to Progressive Field. And Owen Miller continues to stand on top of his head. Quan is cooling off right now. The pitching, I am a teensy bit worried. I thought the pitching was going to be elite from Cleveland this year, and it just looks like it's going to be good.
That's the big question mark there, because if the pitching's not elite, then there's not really a recipe to their success. They're not going to hit their way to the top.
You don't think Owen Miller is going to hit 580 on the year?
Yeah. I mean, I actually think Owen Miller could be a good utility guy. I think he can be a decent big league bat, but yeah, of course, he's not going to do what he's doing right now. I do believe in Miles Straw, and I think he's going to be a big piece for them. And obviously they believe in him too, by extending him the way they did. But again, you have Bobby Bradley in the lineup as much as you do. And I mean, today they had Oscar Mercado, they had Clement in the lineup. Like, you're just not going to win with that
Ernie
many guys.
Clement, former Virginia Cavalier.
And Fran Moraes has struggled in the early going. So here's the thing with the Guardians. They've got about 20 dudes knocking on the door that could, I mean, it's tough. It's a big leap to the big leagues, but we've seen guys settle right in and succeed before. We see guys struggle. They could try like 4 different guys out there.
Yeah.
Like we could see Nolan Jones up there very soon. We could see
Arias.
Tyler Freeman up there very soon. We could see Roquillo even not that far from now. Gabriel Arias should be up there now, by the way. The glove is ready at shortstop, but he could play third as well. Like, they've got so many guys that can help them, and pitching as well. I'm not going to be worried about them. I'm also very excited to see Logan Allen come up. They've got some other pieces. They'll be fine. They've just got to kind of figure out how to mix and match and who gives them the best chance for success right now, because they're young and they're still trying to kind of move things around.
Their AAA affiliate, the Columbus Clippers, have the best record in the International League right now, and they come to Indy for 6 this week. I will absolutely report back on how Columbus looks.
Can't wait. And the Akron Rubber Ducks are probably the best team in the minor leagues.
We talked about it on the call-up. The Akron Rubber Ducks, the AA for the Cleveland Guardians, and the Eugene Emeralds, the high A for the San Francisco Giants, might be the 2 greatest minor league rosters ever assembled.
If they played each other, it would be my Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it would be.
I would watch that. I would watch them play 100 games. I'm not even kidding.
You got to walk me through the NL now. Start with San Fran, because that was the only interleague matchup.
Yeah, we'll talk about the one interleague matchup. So San Fran, I mean, we knew that this was going to be their recipe to success, right? Pitch and timely hitting and good defense, and they're doing it, right? I will say, I mean, they've gone against 2 of the weaker offenses in baseball. When we talk about the Marlins, the Padres were not swinging it from the jump with Tatis out of the lineup. They're starting to get there. We'll get to them. And then Cleveland, I know they were a top offense out of the gate, but I mean, they scored 4 runs in 3 games. And that's kind of what we know they can be and what they'll kind of fall into. The Giants can pitch. We knew they could pitch. Alex Wood is a guy for them. And that bullpen is special. I do still worry about the offense, but how good does the offense really need to be, Jack?
I don't know. And they're hitting the ball out of the ballpark, which I really enjoy. So far, they've played 9 games, right? 7-2. They've got 4 guys with multiple homers.
And that was the recipe last year, right? They had more guys with 15 plus homers than anyone in baseball.
They're going to do it again. Joey Bart's got 2. I'll save you Joey Bart. What I will say is Carlos Rodon, Taylor's oldest time, looks absolutely elite, borderline, like best pitcher in the National League right now, but who knows how long that'll last.
That's the biggest what if kind of thing. But what I will say is I'm sold on Logan Webb. I'm sold on Alex Wood pitching at an above average clip. I'm very sold on that. Desclafani, I'm questioning, but
yeah,
if that's your 4, who cares? And the way I look at it, Alex Cobb could end up being that guy leveling up for you and being that 4. And now you really only need Desclafani to be a 5. Then you're fine. You're happy. Cobb's been great with the swing and miss, 10 Ks in his 5 innings. I really think that this rotation could sneakily be one of the more surprising in baseball now that Rodon is pitching at this level. But I really think that the staff is better than I thought it would be going into the year. I do have the questions about the bats, but at the end of the day, Brandon Belt's not slowing down. That's the guy in the offense that I think could really make or break them. Because if Belt is healthy, we know that in terms of OPS, he's been as good as anybody in baseball since the start of 2020. I think he's one of the top 5 in that department. If he's healthy and doing that, this team might just have enough offense to win a crazy amount of games and make me eat dirt.
I love it. Next one. You got to lead it now, man.
I know. We'll go into the next one. I like the game that's going on right now that we're missing the broadcast for. Atlanta and San Diego, because Atlanta, I already can see how they're going to do this thing, man. Like I really like this Atlanta ball club overall. I know they didn't start off red hot. They're 5-5. We'll see what happens in the rest of that game with San Diego. They're currently losing 2-0 in the middle of the 6th as we record this, but they're about to get Ronald freaking Acuna back. Matt Olson is a huge bat for them. And oh, by the way, Marcell Ozuna is swinging the bat really well. If he's more like that 2020 Ozuna, this team's petrifying.
Okay, so I am quickly falling deeper and deeper in love with Matt Olson each time I watch him play. I think Matt Olson, and we talked about it via text late last week, like he's a freaking superstar, dude.
He's in the conversation. I think by the end of this year, it could be a guy that we're talking about as the top 5 bat in baseball, just purely on the bat. I mean, and when we look at production, I'm not sure there's going to be that many guys that are producing more than him, aside from the elite of the elite. Huge development also on the pitching side. Ian Anderson off to a slow start, but he's always a streaky guy with the fastball changeup. Those guys tend to be a bit streaky. Yeah. I'm not worried about Anderson. He's already proven it in multiple postseasons. Good. He'll be fine. Kyle Wright. Wright dude. Looks great. And I did a little bit of an investigation. He has changed the shape of his curveball and the velo of his curveball. It used to be more of a slower bender, and it used to be more of a slurvy pitch, sharper, and another 2 miles per hour higher. Talk to our guy, Kobe Olson. He will tell you how much power curveballs are the new wave. Wright's made that tweak. He's throwing the pitch way more, and he's getting almost a 40% whiff rate on it. He already had the changeup in the fastball. Huge for Kyle Wright, who was first round pick, former top prospect, not coming out of nowhere. 15 Ks, 1 walk through his first 2 starts.
Dude. Yeah. I've had a really good time watching back Kyle Wright starts. That was a guy that I thought it was going to click for because he was, right behind those marquee Vandy arms that we talk about, right? He was right behind Buehler, and not so long ago, Tyler Beatty and Carson Fulmer were good at baseball. So he was right behind Buehler, Beatty, Fulmer. He was learning from all these guys, and Kyle Wright was the next man up. And again, he was a top 10 pick. I want to say 2017, and it took a bit, but Wright's stuff was always good. And with tightening up the breaking balls, that makes his stuff great. And if he can locate 3 pitches on any given outing, he can be lights out. Like, that's who he is.
This changes a lot for them because Huascar Ynoa is now healthy. We talk about Acuna, but just on the pitching side, they also have these guys that they kind of fast track to the big leagues. They drafted dudes that they kind of knew might not be rotation pieces, but could make spot starts, get one time through the order, and be interesting swingman co-pick types. They've got multiple. Bryce Elder, Spencer Strider, both those guys are now up and helping them. They're just doing a good job. Props to Alex Anthopoulos. The Braves are going to be right back in it again. I don't think any of us are going to be surprised there. And I don't think they're really missing Freddie Freeman that much on a baseball standpoint. I really don't.
I don't think so either. What about San Diego?
San Diego, could they use Tatis, man?
Dude, yes.
It's really, that's the biggest thing. When I watch this team, I'm like, I got to keep reminding myself they need Tatis and how much of a difference that's going to make for them. Darvish with a big bounce back outing against the Braves, he's just going to be Jekyll and Hyde all year. And that's the thing. But when he is on, he's going to be on for them. And their pitching is just phenomenal. It really is. And now that Mackenzie Gore is a piece for them that is at the big league level. I love the acquisitions they've made. I love Joe Musgrove. They're going to be fine. I really think that it's going to be a close race between them and the Giants for that number 2 spot in the NL West.
Okay, so quick from me on Gore and Musgrove. First with Gore, I thought Gore, the fastball looked lively. And last year, the problem obviously was mental. I think that's been well documented, but also the fastball didn't look anywhere close to as lively as what it looks like right now. It's got run and he's pinpointing it right now. What you mentioned watching his start on Friday was he had throwaway pitches, non-competitive pitches. And he was almost exclusively using his fastball. I think when he starts to implement that slider and the changeup, Gore can turn into a legitimate big league starter. And like that can happen next time he's on the mound.
That's the thing, is now he's working with big league coaches. More importantly, he has the confidence now. Not only was he good in spring training, he was good in a AAA start, and he was good in his first big league start. And also knowing that he maybe didn't have his best stuff and still hung in there and still succeeded and went fastball heavy and still succeeded. I think the confidence is back for Gore, even if he does have a bad outing. I think he knows he belongs, which was the biggest thing. Because now he trusts that fastball. I saw it. He made a bad pitch. He zeroed right back in and went right back into the zone. No nibbling. That's huge for them. Offensively is the question, which did you think we'd be saying this about the Padres a year ago, right? Oh, the pitching's fine. Are they going to hit enough? Yes, we didn't think Tatis would be addicted to riding motorcycles, but I mean, like, Luke Voit has not been good for them. Profar has suddenly been able to swing it now and has been one of the more productive guys. Like, Profar can't be your best bat. You know he's going to tail off. It's going to be a huge boost when you swap out Abrams, who's probably shouldn't be up at the big league level, for a Fernando Tatis. I think that's going to help them a lot. But I mean, the offense is a little bit streaky for me right now.
Yeah, it's streaky. I do got to hit on Musgrove now. I got to hit on Musgrove because, like, are you going to laugh at me if I call Joe Musgrove a possible ace?
No.
I think he looks incredible.
I don't think it's crazy at all. From the adjustments he made in Pittsburgh prior to the trade and on, he's been that guy, aside from one little bad stretch.
The fastball was jumping in spring training, and that's when I latched on, because like the fastball and the way that the slider complements the fastball, working off the fastball with a great slider, I said, wow, Joe Musgrove can really put it together. And I feel like Joe Musgrove every time he's on the mound is going to walk onto the mound, take care of business, walk off. And that's going to happen 6 or 7 times in his start. I think this guy is a quality start. He, Buehler, Logan Webb are the 3 guys in the National League, and they all happen to be in the NL West, that I think are the best and the most surefire quality start candidates out there.
Even when their stuff is off, they have so many different ways that they can go, especially Musgrove. He's got so many different pitches and ways that he can attack you, that if it's not going one way, he can go another way. Here's why I think the ace thing isn't crazy before we move on to the next team. Here's a question. I know what your answer is going to be. You're playing a 1-game wild card. Who's starting for you if you're the Padres?
Musgrove,
and I don't think twice about it. Darvish is Darvish could single-handedly win you that game. He could single-handedly lose you that game.
Correct.
I don't want to flip that coin. It's going to be Joe Musgrove for me in that situation, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think so too.
Let's go to the obligatory game so we can fly through it real quick. Washington Nationals. They played the Pirates. Pirates are 5-4. Pirates are 5-4. I'll give them a little bit more love. Nationals, let's just get it over with. Soto 0 for 3, 2 walks. We're going to see that. That's going to be the worst games, right? We're at 400 on base percentage. They're just not fun to watch, and they're not good.
No, they're terrible to watch. Patrick Corbin, like you mentioned, worst starting pitcher in baseball last year among qualified starters in terms of ERA. For some reason, he's got like a 2 ERA at PNC Park.
I wish I knew that.
Washington coughed up a late lead. So shout out the Buccos getting the win 5-3. Yeah, I think I'm done with the Nats. Like, is Soto? If Adrianza's in the lineup, obviously I'm in, but that's about it.
He wasn't. And Victor Robles is at 48. So I think the ship has sailed there. The one thing I will say is I'm always rooting for Corbin. I hate seeing guys struggle after a big contract. I know they got their bag. Why do you feel bad for the guys who got paid? That's a different kind of pressure. So I hope Corbin, cool story too, is a guy from the Syracuse area that didn't really play baseball until he was like a junior in high school, then went the JUCO route. On the Pittsburgh side, I mean, this was not a very exciting lineup, but they're getting the job done. They're 5-4 so far this season. Jake Marisnick hit leadoff for them today, and they won a baseball game. Also, Jose Quintana started that game. So not much to say on them other than Brian Hayes keeps hitting the ball on the ground, needs to get it in the air, but thank goodness he's healthy. And hopefully we'll see Roansy Contreras and O'Neill Cruz soon.
Yeah, well, Rowansi's in the bullpen, so there we go with Contreras.
As a starter, please.
As a starter, please. The bullpen is exciting. Like, aside from Roansy Contreras, David Bednar is a true bullpen piece that can flourish on any team in Major League Baseball, and he happens to be the closer for the Pirates.
I do wonder if they trade him. I do wonder because, yes, they want to compete. I'm still a believer if you're rebuilding, maximize assets, sell high on a reliever. You can get a top 100 guy for a reliever, do it. And I think they can for Bednar. He's that good. But start looking at the future. They locked up Reynolds, or not locked up, but at least they forewent arbitration for the next 2 years. They've got him for 4. They locked up Bryant, but I mean, they're not going to be good for a little bit. Yeah. We'll move on to the Marlins and the Phillies.
Cool.
The Marlins are on fire.
At 4-5, they're on fire.
Yeah. At 4-5, they are on fire. The offense has been really good. The last 2 games, blowout one way, blowout back the other way. And also the game before that, they blew out the Phillies. 7-1 win, 10-3 loss, 11-3 win. The offense is starting to come together a little bit. I want to get your thoughts on this because their leading offensive guys are 2 guys that aren't rookies, but might as well be kind of Jared Kelenic type rookies in Jesus Sanchez and Jazz Chisholm. Both of those guys already have 2 triples. Both of those guys are hitting over 300. Both of those guys have a pair of home runs, and they also have an OPS well over 1,000. Not sustainable, but 2 potential all-stars, guys that have been viewed as potential all-stars that are coming alive. Do you believe in that young duo being, legitimate contributors for the full 162 for the Marlins?
They make me nervous, but I wouldn't be floored. I think I'd be surprised. It would be a pleasant surprise. I wouldn't be jaw on the ground surprised if they both turned in fringe all-star caliber seasons. We know Jazz can do it. And I think Jesus Sanchez, the bat is good enough. My thing is, constantly hearing about the Marlins from you, I never hear about the pitching. Never, never, never. All I hear about is the offense. That's it. Like, that's where Marlins fans' anxiety lies in the offense. So if you get a little bit of security from young guys in that Marlins offense, that's going to do wonders for your mental health and the rest of South Florida.
No, it's a good point. I mean, there's a level of taking this starting pitching staff for granted. And I mean, Eliezer Hernandez turned in 6 innings of 2-run ball. And that's like, you're technically speaking, like sixth best arm.
In a year, he's your 8.
Yes. And he's fine. Sandy Alcantara hasn't been dynamite out of the gate, still 3.18 ERA. Pablo Lopez has been dynamite.
Oh my God, dude.
0.87 ERA in 10 innings. He has been spectacular. And then Jesus Luzardo turned in the best start of his career. Somebody that came on the show, talked to us about what he was working on, really sold all of us on, just because you get to talk to somebody you believe in the person. Don't have to be sold on the talent, right? He was a top pitching prospect in baseball for several years. 12 Ks in 5 innings, only walks 1, which is the huge thing for Luzardo. He talked about working on the mental side, working on the command. And I mean, we saw it in that first start. If he does it again, now this Marlins rotation, where do they stack up, Jack? If you have, and I haven't even mentioned Trevor Rogers, who's off to a slow start. He'll be fine. He was tipping pitches, as Mel Stoudemire, the pitching coach, said. Where does this staff stack up with the rest of the league if these guys are pitching the way we think they can?
Top 5.
Wow.
What do you think?
I'm biased, I think, a little bit on the pitching side. But yeah, I think this staff has the upside of top 5, because to me, Sandy's a top 20 starting pitcher. To me, Trevor Rogers, when he's going right, is a top 20 starting pitcher. I think Pablo Lopez, when healthy, is a top 30 starting pitcher. Luzardo has the upside of a guy that's in that conversation. And then Max Meyer is maybe a guy that could be in that conversation. Edward Cabrera could be in that conversation. Eliezer Hernandez could be a high-end 5. There's just not many teams like competing with that pitching wise.
No, there's no team that matches the depth and the firepower that Miami has, because the top end talent of the Dodgers and the top end talent of the Brewers is probably a little bit better than the top end talent of Miami, but Miami can go 9 deep right now. Nobody else can do that.
No, and Meyer went 5 perfect in his last AAA game, by the way.
There we go.
It's crazy. Phillies, on the other hand, pitching is going to be the question, but the offense has not been that juggernaut yet that we were expecting.
The weather needs to warm up. I understand that they were at Miami, but like when you give the Phillies a month in June and July, you're going to see some crooked ass numbers.
Yeah, they were in Miami, and also it's like, okay, you finally got out of the cold. Now you're in a pitcher's ballpark where all of the Marlins pitchers love to throw. Yeah. You're going to have some struggles there. The one time that the Marlins established pitcher didn't really throw that well, they put up 10 on him. It was Trevor Rogers who's tipping pitches. So I think the offense will be just fine. They started to come alive late in the series. We saw Harper go yard, Schwarber go yard. How do we feel about the pitching situation? Zach Wheeler got trounced by the Marlins. He'll be fine. But this is a team that if Nola and Wheeler are not dynamite out of the gate, which both of them have not been dynamite through their first couple starts, who's pitching for you?
I'm worried about the pitching because, again, if Wheeler and Nola are off, if Suarez is off, you don't have a bullpen. You haven't had a bullpen for the last decade. So I think it's kind of a wash, and you have to just outscore teams.
A lot riding on Kyle Gibson, though he has looked pretty good.
Yeah, but is he going to look good for 162? Is he going to put together 25 to 30 starts of this?
He even faded last year, but I think if he gives you what you got from him last year, or I guess what he did last year, there's some hope, but it all rides on Nola and Wheeler, and both those guys have been a bit inconsistent in the early going, and Nola was inconsistent last year. Speaking of inconsistent, though, we can go to the Brewers lineup, which it stinks, Jack. It freaking stinks. Arias can't come back quickly enough, but even Luis Arias is not saving this lineup. It's not good. How do they make this lineup better? Can they wait it out? Is there a way that this starting 9 hits enough?
In what world is the predicted division winner looking at Luis Arias as the highest impact bat, saying you need him so badly?
It's a good way to put it. Yeah. A projected division winner should not need Luis Arias.
And Luis Arias is good. I really enjoy watching Luis Arias play, but you shouldn't need Luis Arias to come back from injury that badly. I'm nervous for the Brewers.
And that's not even getting into the pitching, which has been probably the most surprising storyline to me in baseball in the early going has been the Milwaukee Brewers pitching. I will say Corbin Burns bounced back and turned in a spectacular second start. Surprise, surprise. But Brandon Woodruff has not looked good.
He looks
Freddie
terrible.
Peralta has not looked good. Ashby looked a little bit better, but even he has been a little shaky. Hauser has not looked good. Devin Williams, I have not liked every outing I've seen from him. What are we thinking here? Are we worried? I'm not necessarily worried, but I mean, they've got to shove to win games. So they don't have that much time to get it going on the pitching side.
Yeah, pitching is a confidence thing. You and I both know that. And it's so easy for that confidence to die away when you have a rough start. So we'll see how they bounce back from a rough start. When do you qualify this as a rough start? Is it 10 games in like we are, or is it 30 games in?
I want to see them go around that rotation 3 times. So, I mean, they're
that's this week.
Yeah. I want to see them get through 3 times. And I think at that point you'll have a pretty good idea. I'm not saying they're doomed, but you're like, okay, there's some urgency here. This team is OPSing 618. I mean, you have one guy on your team with an OPS over 800 and it's Rowdy Tellez. Yeah. I just don't see how you can score enough runs that way. They're going to have to make a trade. I don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to have to make a move if they're going to succeed. I really just don't see how else they do it.
Who do they do it with? Ethan Small?
Ethan Small. I mean, they could trade a Garrett Mitchell. They could trade a Weimer, a Frelick. Not all of them, but 1 or 2 of those guys. Terang is a trade piece. They also have some guys that are performing a little bit. I think they could find a way to kind of put together a deal and maybe trade away from some of the big league pieces as well. Yeah. How about the Rockies? Rockies can't stop hitting.
Our guys.
We knew they would hit. I mean, we knew this is a good freaking team. We knew this was an NL West favorite over here. The second that Dick Monfort decided to say, let's win ball games now.
Yes,
they're doing it. Connor Joe, like jokes aside, has been phenomenal. He has really seemed to settle in, and really, I think is just loves Coors Field.
So I want to pull up Connor Joe's MLB.com page so I get all of his transactions right, because I think a lot of people think that this Connor Joe thing is a joke on our end. We're actually in love with Connor Joe.
I mean, he's somebody with first round pedigree from, what was it, San Diego State or something like that?
University of San Diego.
University of San Diego.
Connor Joe, 29 years old, picked in the first round by Pittsburgh in 2014 out of the University of San Diego. Connor Joe, traded by Pittsburgh to Atlanta straight up for Sean Rodriguez in August of 2017. September of 2017, traded by the Braves to the Dodgers for international bonus slot money. December of 2018, drafted by the Cincinnati Reds from the LA Dodgers in the 2018 Rule 5 draft. March 2019, traded by the Reds to the Giants for Jordan Johnson, who is a minor leaguer, and cash considerations. April 2019, returned by the San Francisco Giants to the LA Dodgers. 2020, he was released. And then November of 2020, he signed as a free agent with the Rockies. And oh, by the way, this guy in 2020 opted out because he was dealing with testicular cancer. So this guy is a grinder, and it's so fun to watch him succeed. And I'll stand by it. We are all witnesses of the Joe Show.
It's been awesome. And his numbers thus far, 361, 465, 667 OPS. So 1132 OPS. That's the slash line. He's been great. He puts the bat on the ball. He's athletic. He's made some legitimate adjustments too to his swing to kind of incorporate a lot more of his body into it. And it's producing. And also he's in the right spot to kind of have that breakout. Chris Bryant is settling in kind of the way we thought he would. Power not showing, but he's taking advantage of those spacious gaps in the way the ball carries. The whole team's hitting. CJ Cron's leading the league with home runs with 5. The only surprise to me on the negative side for this team is that Brendan Rodgers has struggled mightily, 3 for 31 to start the year. I still do think that this could have been that breakout year for Brendan Rodgers. He looked good in the end of last year. If Brandon Rodgers kicks it into gear here, This is a team that, look, I know we joke about them being fun and competitive, but I mean, they can hang around. I think they could be a team that is, especially with their dominance at home, they can hang around.
So they're so easy to watch because the top 5 or 6 in their order are genuinely exciting. Joe, Chris Bryant, Ryan McMahon, Brendan Rodgers, even though he's struggling right now. Chuck Nasty's still fun to watch. And then how about CJ Crone, who is shitting on the ball, like you mentioned?
Always.
That's a kind of fun lineup to watch every day.
Imagine if they had John Gray.
Dude.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they had John Gray now, this is a more interesting team. I don't think they're going to be able to get enough outs to really be able to hang in there enough, but they'll do it at home. They'll do it at home. And that'll be enough to keep them in that 70 to 75 win range, which is a good outcome for them. And you can kind of see some positivity in the future. Speaking of the future, let's talk about the Reds, because we kind of saw the future of Major League Baseball potentially on the mound in Hunter Greene, who has already thrown more pitches above 100 miles an hour in a single season for a starter. How many times we're going to hear the stat now? And I already forgot it. Since like 2008. Like, we have not really seen anybody do anything like this in terms of frequency of ridiculous velo. What I love about Greene is the fastball's, one, locating better than I thought he would locate it, and 2, it's playing better than I thought it would play at this level. And that largely has to do with him flashing the changeup a little bit, which I love to see. And also just the spots of it. He looks unbelievable to start his career.
Yeah. So I will say I want to see him start meaningless games, because he's going to start a lot of meaningless games. He just threw on Saturday night under the lights at Dodger Stadium against the best lineup in baseball. And we know he's a gamer. Yeah. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that Hunter Greene is an absolute gamer. So when the lights are on, he's going to shine. And when the Reds are ready to compete, Hunter Greene's going to be one of the guys that's leading you. But I want to see him start in mid-July against the Pirates.
Absolutely. And maybe the velo is so effortless that it won't be a problem. But I think it's a fair point, right? Because if he's not 101, the fastball profile, if he's 96, 97, he'll get hit a little bit. What was amazing, though, is the way he was locating. You were seeing him getting in on the hands of lefties. You were seeing him flashing the changeup. Even when he missed his spot, they were so geared up for the fastball that they were spitting on changeups belt high. He looks really good. The future of the Reds looks really good. But they're scuffling right now. They caught Cleveland at the wrong time, and then they went to LA and lost 4. They're not going to be good this year, but at least Reds fans are getting Hunter Greene earlier than I think most of us thought they would get him. And there's still a lot of talent on that ball club. Yeah.
Cincinnati, bottom. Are they dead last in the league in team OPS? And then I think they might be dead last in the league in team OPS and dead last in the league in team ERA. Second to worst team ERA, only ahead of the Texas Rangers. And then looking at team OPS, the Cincinnati Reds have the worst team OPS.
Yeah, hard to win that way. Get them back home for a few more games. Maybe we'll see things start to tick up a little bit. But a team that's kind of the polar opposite is the LA Dodgers. And you ready for the Dodgers to start taking the league by storm? Because it's already happening.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend much time on the LA Dodgers. Andrew Heaney just looked like Nolan Ryan today.
Yeah, and we knew that was going to happen, I think. They gave him a bunch of money. They gave him $10 million. You knew that there was something there. And that means there was a market for him. And I think he's putting it together in an organization that helps take stuff and translate it into outs. And he had the stuff, and now he's translating it into outs. The most surprising development for me with the Dodgers, which changes not a lot because they're going to be great with or without him, but definitely makes things a bit more rosy if we're looking at the picture. Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux looks, 1, phenomenal, 2, confident, which another player that you could kind of see defeated out there at times. 9 games so far. He's hitting 320, 455, 560, but he looks confident. He's impacting the game with his speed. He's impacting the game kind of all over. That makes this lineup as deep as any we've ever seen. It was already that way, but now Gavin Lux being good in the mix there, it's now in the unfair territory.
You can't have Lux and Bellinger suck at the same time. Only one of them's allowed to suck at one time. And now it's Bellinger's turn and Lux is good.
And by the way, Bellinger's coming alive a little bit.
Teensy bit. I'm not ready to call it coming alive yet.
726 OPS all of a sudden. It's all of a sudden. It's not disastrous. And he did put on some good swings, 2 hits off of Hunter Green on 101, sending it back around the other way. So there's some signs, some glimmers of
but that's
hope
another
there.
gamer.
What?
Bellinger. He's another gamer.
He always rises to the occasion. He always does rise to the occasion. Am I missing any other teams? Did we get everybody?
You're missing the Mets in Arizona, and then we got to hit St. Louis. We can fly through Arizona and St. Louis, but I do want to talk about the Mets for a little bit. Arizona sucks.
That's fair.
St. Louis, pretty solid. What do you think of St. Louis?
Well, first of all, very excited to see Pujols go yard. That might be the hardest hit ball I've seen from Pujols since he played in St. Louis.
Yeah.
That ball was crushed. He looks good. He looks rejuvenated.
How about Arenado having his out-of-body experience?
That is also really huge because here's the thing. That's just not a hot start. Arenado might just be having a big year. I think we'll slow down. We'll see what happens, but there's enough to believe, whoa, what if Arenado is just going to have that monster offensive year? Now, his second year away from the altitude, getting used to pitches moving differently, having a full off season to adjust away from Coors. Now things look different. The story hasn't changed, though. The pitching is a problem. And I think today was the latest, or Sunday was the perfect example. You're playing a bad Brewers offense. You can't keep them under 6 runs. And it's just going to be hard when these are the names that went on Sunday: Daniel Hudson, TJ McFarland, Jordan Hicks, Drew Verhagen, and then Cody Whitley.
And Hicks looked not good.
And they were talking about that guy starting.
I think he still is. Tuesday?
We'll see how that goes.
I could be wrong.
The pitching is in trouble, though. Matz did look good against the
Matz looked really good, but against Milwaukee.
Milwaukee was Milwaukee. Yeah, he looked really good. Look, the offense is going to be good. I'm not worried about that. They're going to be just fine. But another team that's going to have to hit a lot or go acquire an arm. And I just don't like having to worry about my team's success riding on the success of Miles Michaelis and Steven Matz.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of Steven Matz, saved the best for last. Shout out Chris Longo and Adam Freifeld, the New York Mets, 7-3.
I mean, they look great.
They look so good, dude. They look so good. Lindor looks all the way back.
Yeah, Lindor, he looked all the way back in spring training, and he looks all the way back now. Their pitching, I think one of the biggest developments, if we're talking about X factors for each team.
Tyler McGill, but also Carlos Carrasco, dude.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But Tyler McGill is throwing 100. Yeah. And he's like Tyler McGill. Now, if he's a dude, this offense, could you see a scenario where, I mean, the Mets are the second best offense in baseball?
Behind Toronto?
Or third, I guess. It would be behind the Dodgers and Toronto.
Dodgers, Toronto, and Colorado.
But is there a scenario where the Mets could overtake even the Blue Jays in terms of offense?
I think you go around the diamond. Catcher is a weak spot for them. Nito and McCann. Okay. But first, Pete Alonso is a masher. He can hit 45. He can hit 50 this year.
He can be closer to Vladdy than people think.
Exactly. Second base, who are we looking at? We're looking at Cano's been DHing for them, right?
McNeil
can hit. McNeil can slap it around. Lindor is all the way back.
McNeil's been hitting really well for them so far.
Is he?
He's hitting 367.
How about that? Okay. How about third?
Eduardo Escobar right now, but Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos could come up and help.
Vientos is ahead of Beatty, right?
Yeah, presumably so. If he can continue to hit, and then, I mean, Nimmo hasn't even been swinging it to the total degree that he can, and he's getting on base at a 429 clip.
And you got Canna and Starling Marte.
Marte has been good too. This offense could be up there with anybody's. And you've got JD Davis off the bench. You've got Cano really off the bench. You've got a bunch of other pieces potentially that could come out and help you. And then Chris Bassett, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Bassett, I'm not surprised 1%. Like, I think he's going to be really good. But if McGill and Bassett are this good, which they could be, I'm pretty sold on what we've seen. And then not to mention Carrasco, they already have Scherzer. If they get that DeGrom guy back, I mean, the recipe is here. This team's insane. And now Francisco Alvarez might even be a guy that could throw his name into the hat as a bat. I still think it's too early, but we're seeing him make a joke out of Double-A pitching.
And Buck Showalter is the guy as the skipper. I think we've already set the record for like longest JB show ever. So this was a blast. Really? Man, I think we're at like an hour 35, hour 40 right now.
No way.
I think so.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We got to say bye. Peter and I have top 5 DHs tomorrow. We're also going to recap Monday's games. So thanks, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow.